Good morning, ladies and chickens. How the devil are we? It's Patch Notes Day. There are things coming. Flying things. More sky raisins. To celebrate, or partially to celebrate, the oncoming July the 4th. No, I don't mean the incoming British election. Don't worry about that. Nobody really cares. We have a new campaign. And I'm going to go through the patch notes in the old-fashioned, tried and tested way of scrolling down and reading as I go. There's lots of things in here, and fundamentally, I think the biggest thing isn't the Enterprise, which is great for all of you carrier mains out there. It's actually the balance changes, which I will get to. But TLDR, plane regen's getting nerfed. Hooray! Which is what a lot of people have been talking about, including myself. So having had the carriers change in the May update, and spotting and everything else, which is lovely. Thank you very much, Wargaming. The plane regen basically meant that it didn't matter how many planes you shot down. They were always going to flatten you, given the opportunity. So, the new July update is called Skyward Endeavours. And if you have seen, there is a video on the YouTubes which shows us all about some of the things that are coming, including hybrid carriers. But we will be getting the Grey Ghost campaign, which is the Tier 7 carrier Enterprise. It does not have rocket planes, interestingly. It has AP bombs. So, combination of US style carrier, dive bombing, and German AP bombs, I imagine. It'll be interesting to see how that works. There's an Independence Day event. There is a new code, which I will pin to the comment section. And there's a new calendar for the commander, for the hybrid carriers. And obviously there's early access out of crates and things like this. But in a nutshell, what you have here is you have the new Tier 7 campaign, you have the Star Trek collab, which we will receive details on separately, the Independence Day event, hybrid battleships, the new calendar, something called Arcade Battle Type, which I think is very interesting, particularly for mobile players, and I'll get to that in a bit, new ranked seasons, balance changes, and more. So let's get cracking. So US Enterprise looking very handsome, which we always like to see. New Tier 7 premium aircraft carrier. It has precise bombers with high survivability, so lots of health. Devastating damage by dropping powerful armor-piercing bombs. Good speed and maneuverability. A game changer even in the most difficult of battles, which means they're suggesting that it can get in and get out. Let's see. From July the 1st, which is Monday, I believe, aircraft carriers will become available on mobile. So you can play carriers while sitting on the toilet. Wonderful news. It's a 5-week campaign, including catch-up as usual. Usual rules apply. There's a bunch of premium days, doubloons, lots and lots of different crates. Obviously, the Enterprise itself. There's a few patch bits. There's some of the hybrid crates, which you can be getting 2 different types. There's up to 6 insignias you can get. And usual rules apply. So you have 2,500 doubloons for starting the Admiralty backing. Or if you want to buy it all out, it'll cost too much. Don't do it. Star Trek is coming. Jean-Luc Chicken Hard here. There is, for some reason, they've blanked them out, but you could see them in a different image. There is a Spock. There is a Klingon, but it's not Worf, it's somebody else. And there is what I think is a Romulan. But it looks like skins and commanders by the looks of things. And obviously one of them is going to be for the Enterprise. So I expect us to have a Jean-Luc Picard voiceover for Enterprise, which will be interesting. There will be details coming soon. There will be more theme content for July the 4th. So American Do Their Own Thing Day, I think is what it's called. Hybrid commanders, hybrid battleships, in fact. And what they're going to be is there's also going to be a few missions in there, and there'll be event currency called Independium. Of course there is. So there's 4 different Independence Day missions, and you can spend Independium on various things in the store, including the skins for hybrid battleships. And do you remember the really nice Golden Eagle skins for Kansas and Florida? Particularly Kansas. You can get that too. I recommend the Kansas one. Flow Rider, don't know. There is a legendary hybrid battleship Louisiana, which is also available. But I believe that's a little bit different, and we'll get to that in a bit, how that will works. There is something called, if you manage to accumulate quite a sum through missions in the Waves of Liberty random bundle, it's obtainable for doubloons. So it looks like you fundamentally unlock it. The Waves of Liberty random bundle includes the Tier 8 ship Vallejo, which is a US cruiser, which looks like a light anti-aircraft cruiser to me, I believe. You get a bunch of different things in here. So this is the Waves of Liberty random bundle. So I believe that will work the same way. So you're basically purchasing the bundle, and it'll help you get Independium, which will help get you the Louisiana and the new skins. And there's also a chance to get the Tier 8 cruiser Vallejo and an 80% discount on select American ships, and lots of bits and bobs for progression, insignias, etc. We'll have a look at that on stream on Monday evening, but fundamentally what you'll find is it's a bit of a lottery. What's always good about this is that you kind of always know what the next run is going to be on that, so it's not completely blind. The newest hybrid battleships are coming, so paper designs, these aren't, if even that, these aren't real things, they never existed. 4 of them are coming between 3 of them are coming between Tier 6 and Tier 8, Connecticut, Nebraska, and Delaware. They all have an airstrike feature using torpedo bombers. Now, this is similar to how the airstrike works with the Provincian. So it's not controllable planes in the same way. This has been confirmed by Wargaming this morning. And what you'll find is that you'll be able to launch the planes and use them in a similar way you use the airstrike, and sort of try and preempt where the enemy ship's going to be. And they will have a limited range, as you'd expect. What you won't be doing is setting your battleship to run in a certain direction, then launching an airstrike and running it like you would a normal carrier. Which I think is different to how the PC one works, but slightly different. Personally, I think this is a better implementation than just being able to fly the planes how you want to do it. But you can get them from big crates, which you'll earn through the campaign. You'll also be able to buy them for doubloons or Independium in the store, and you can get them in the Winged Admiral calendar as well. Now, this is the interesting bit. The legendary hybrid battleship Louisiana, which will be available in the store for Independium, and it's not the last chance to get it. Next summer, so 12 months away, it will be available again as a free Bureau project. Now, this is an interesting change, because historically when they've done something like this, they haven't mentioned when the ship will be coming again. But it's quite nice that they've given us that little bit of information. But obviously, if you want it now, there's going to be a cost involved. This is the Winged Admiral Commander. This is Joseph Reeves. This is the guy that you'll be using on your hybrid carriers, hybrid battleships rather. 3-week campaign, and then once you clear all of those, as usual, if you miss one, it'll cost you 250 doubloons to pick it up. He has a couple of interesting traits. His base trait is reducing torpedo and bomb damage from aircraft by up to 16%, and it reduces sea and air detectability range, which is also a good thing. It has a couple of interesting other skills. So airstrike range, which is handy. Sea wings, which will increase your aircraft cruising speed, which will be relevant later on when we look at some of the changes on the balancing. You can increase the speed of your torpedoes. You can increase your HP for your airstrike aircraft. All those usual things apply. There is a new battle type, and again, I think this is probably most interesting, although again, we will try this on Monday when it comes out. I think this is, again, about the way you play, particularly on mobile. Faster paced, shorter games, tier 1 to 6, so actually keeping it to relatively newer players. making it more attractive to new players coming into the game. Playing it on mobile, often you have less time. I mean, hey, you're in the toilet if you don't want to be in the toilet for 20 minutes, do you? Your legs will go numb. So if you're going to be playing while you're sitting on the toilet, arcade battles are a really good idea, because I know I joke, but realistically, if you're only playing a 5 or 6 minute battle, that's a much, much more reasonable time to be playing on mobile in a game mode like that than it is in a 15-minute full game. It's also available alongside AI. So if you only have short teams, very fast getting into games, it'll make up the balance of players with AI. And the objective with this is fast-paced, quick matchmaking, get in quick games, and then you get out again. So again, it feels like it's a little bit closer tiered for mobile players, because they're not sitting on their sofas or whatever for 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, a couple of hours at a time playing on mobile. They have shorter periods of time to play. And I think it's a nice addition for the mobile players. I'm not one, but still. There's more ranked coming, three per team. New season starts on July the 2nd. No aircraft carriers, tier 5 to tier 7, depending on which season. Up to 3,600 steel, so 1,200 per season. That'll be fun, and only one destroyer per team. Never a bad thing. There's a bunch of balance changes. There's buffs to Tirpitz, because that's interest, because it's a little bit unloved at tier 7, to be perfectly honest. Vallejo has said buffs, even though we haven't had it yet. So let's see. And there's a couple of nerfs to secondary commander skills. The fundamentally, there's a few improvements and bug fixes. The most important one is the campaign milestone now doesn't pop up randomly after a mild delay, making us all crap ourselves when it suddenly pops up while we're doing something else. Wonderful. Thank you, Wargaming. Love you dearly. There's a few tweaks to Independence torpedo bombers now look better. There's better synchronization of in-game achievements. There's a few tweaks of quality of life stuff. Aircraft carriers are now available on mobile devices. So again, more toilet time playing ships. Never a bad thing. But we're going to have a quick look at the Ministry of Balance article before we call it a day on this video. So, big changes. Vallejo, which we haven't got yet. At Sap Slinging Light Cruiser. So, think San Diego, but at tier 8. Right? Didn't do a lot in testing, so they've reworked it. It has better range by the looks of things. Damage looks like it's pretty good with the sap shells. Minimum ricochet angle has been, is that higher than San Diego? Probably. Better rudder shift time. 40% citadel damage repairs, which suggests that in testing it was getting clapped, which makes sense. Main battery relay booster is always a nice thing. And that's, I mean, I've run San Diego with Colorado on. Thanks, Monk. Great advice. That might be good fun. I don't think it'll be a main thing, but it'll be an entertaining ship nonetheless. Tirpitz is getting tweaked along with the Tirpitz B. So her grouping is being improved a little bit. Secondary battery range is being improved, which was necessary. Slight change to speed, and a reasonable change to the HP hit pool. It was kind of underperforming, I would say. People don't play it. So we'll give it a little go. I'm sure there'll be a few out on Monday, so we'll give it a crack, see what it's like. The legendary skill for Henrique Fernandez is proving especially strong. Didn't know that. So they're dialing it back. So targeting cooldown time reduction has been reduced, and its improvements to secondary dispersion has also been reduced. Here's the important bit. Aircraft carriers. The Second Amendment for aircraft carriers, like it. In general, and I'm not going to go through every single one, but in general, this is what's important. The restoration time is increased, and that's almost a 50% increase to the time it takes to restore planes, which means that if you shoot down planes, it has more impact on the next strike or the future strikes from the carrier, which is important. They have slightly improved the speed for certain things, but most of this is plane restoration. So all the way through the tier 3s, it's about restoration. Langley's planes have been reduced in speed a little. Vessa's interesting. Again, restoration has been increased substantially across the board. Little bit of reduction in some of the health pools, particularly looking at the Vessa. Zuiho, longer range to arm the torpedoes, longer restoration time for the planes, reduction in torpedo speed and the torpedo bomber speed. Yeah, there's a lot of tweaks. I mean, it's a 45-second increase to torpedo bomber restoration and bomber restoration for a Serov. That's interesting. Furious has had their bat thwacked at it because Furious was probably outperforming the Ark Royal, from what I understood. It's a 100-second increase to restoration time, but they've increased the starting stock number of planes to kind of compensate for that. But that's a big change, particularly to that. Torpedo bomber restoration time increased from 20 to 33 seconds. Yeah, okay, I get it. But bomb damage has been increased. So Ark Royal is going to be more effective with the bombers than it was, which is interesting because it was kind of underperforming on damage next to the Furious. Rangers had the same thing, but not as big of a change. I thought Ranger was performing fine, if I'm perfectly honest, because it didn't seem overpowered to me, but maybe I'm just not a CV carrier main. Independence I didn't play, but that's a big change, 57 to 82 seconds. Arming distance has increased as well, but torpedo damage has increased. Independence sets more fires, 32%. That's interesting. But yeah, 25 to 37 seconds. There's a lot of changes. Shikaku, all kind of the same in terms of how they've changed the plane restoration, which I think is necessary given what they were doing. Implacable's interesting. They've increased, similar to what they did with the Furious, they've increased how many planes are in the hangar, but they've massively nerfed the restoration time. So you start with more planes, but it takes you much longer to recycle them and regenerate them. So that's an interesting change, and I think it may make it. I mean, the fundamental point of this is to make, the further into a game you go, if you're not careful with how you use your planes, the less effective you're going to be. Simple as that. Saipan's had an interesting reduction. So it's actually had its torpedo bomber restoration time reduced, but it's reduced how many you get restored at a time from 6 to 3, which is actually a nerf. So you get fewer in slightly more time, in slightly less time. But your hangars have been increased for torpedo bombers, but your maximum has been reduced. So actually it's about balancing that. You've always got a full squad to send out. Actually, no, you don't anymore. And the same with the dive bombers. Midway and Hakuryu, by the looks of things, have been mildly nerfed in the same kind of ways. Restoration has been increased by 7 seconds. That might not be enough, in my opinion. We'll see. I didn't realise it was 18 seconds on the dive bombers. No wonder I died so much to these bloody things. But Hakuryu, 76 to 107 seconds. That's a big change. So overall, I must admit, I'm kind of happy with how this has ended up working. I think new aircraft carrier, Tier 7 Enterprise will be interesting. I'm not a carrier main, but hey, a new ship is a new ship. The Vallejo I'm interested in, but I'm not desperate to have it, if that makes any sense. Star Trek collab will be fun, and I can't wait for Jean-Luc Picard to be running around as a new guise of some description. Be interesting to see if the Enterprise, what looks like some kind of Star Trek skin, and this is my assumption, not what I know, looks anything like the Hakuryu Space Invader one. So I think it's a good broad range of updates. If you're not a carrier player and you don't like playing planes, you're not going to be excited about this update. I'm sorry. It's just the way it's going to be. The update will happen on July the 1st, as usual. It looks like it's about 4 gig, give or take. I like the fact that you can now play aircraft carriers on mobile. They may be our second cousin twice removed, but they should still get some love. The fact that there's now an arcade mode that encourages them to play shorter battles is great. The hop in, hop out nature of that is good. More ranked is always fun. Lots of stuff to earn in the campaign, even if you don't really want the Enterprise. Spending $2,500 to get all these benefits in the game is never a bad thing. Lots of stuff in there to get. So I would give it, for a carrier, for carrier mains, it's a 9 or a 10 out of 10, this campaign. For everyone else, I'd say it's a 6 or a 7 out of 10. We'll be looking at all of this on Monday evening on the Twitches. Do come and say hello. 8:30 p.m. UK time. Twitch.com/Blaymeister. Do come and say hello. Ask me any questions you like. I guarantee to get it wrong, but the chat will get it right. They're very good at this kind of thing. But in the meantime, are you looking forward to this? What are your thoughts on the carriers and the hybrids? Are you happy that the hybrids are airstrikes and not controllable planes? Are you happy that the regen on most of the carriers in the game have been reduced? How do you feel about it? Let me know. Give us a thumbs up if you like, thumbs down if you don't. I will see you on the high seas. Do stay safe. Have a great rest of your day. Love you lots. King Chicken out. Ta-ra!